Ocho sampo pa gyo trashi pa tuche tempe chinle yarngo da pelge drolor zampe zepar chen palden lame shabla solvade. Oma Guru Vajradara Soma Timuni Shasane Karm Utta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradara Soma Timuni Shasane Karm Utta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradara Soma Timuni Shasane Karm Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradara Soma Timuni Shasane Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradara Soma Timuni Shasane Karm Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Oma Guru Vajradara Soma Timuni Shasane Karm Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Pakyuke Kudan Dagi Lo Pakyuke Sungdan Dagi Nga Pakyuke Tugdan Dagi Yi Tenyerme Chikto Chingi Lo Makyuke Kudan Dagi Lo Makyuke Sungdan Dagi Nga Tugdan Dagi Yi Tenyerme Chikto Chingi Lo Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Swaha. Sashipe ki choshi me to Tramare Rabaling shi Ni de Gempadi Sange Shinto Mikte Ulwarki Drokun Nam Da Shingla Chöpar Shoyedam Guru Ratna Mindrala Kam Niryatayami. Sangye Chodan Tsoge Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Chushe Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchira Sangye Drupare Shua Sangye Chodan Tsoge Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Dagi Chinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Shua Sangye Chodan Tsogi Chonamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Chushe Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Shua.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. With the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I obtain Buddhahood. for the benefit of all sentient beings.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge into enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Namo yalhaye ke dan ludan jinke rubundan nami kenam dan ruwa kunge danam chitsampa tamche ke tu dagi cheten.
Good morning. I wanted to begin today with an analogy, a true story, and when I read it, it really it touched me in certain ways. It's said that in the city of Venice, now unfortunately dates and names, I don't remember them. There was all that information in the story, but I didn't retain it. At a certain point, we're talking a couple centuries ago, they had this very, very large obelisk that was in Piazza San Marco, and they had brought it I don't know from where, but there was enormous pillar, a stone pillar, and no one was able to put it upright. And it was there for maybe a century, and no one was able to bring this enormous pillar upright. And they kept it there in the plaza. And finally, the government at the time, they decided, they said, who whoever is able to bring it upright, we will give you what you want, essentially. Let's see who can do it. And there was someone, a man, who said, I can do it. And what he did was he constructed a system, a kind of pulley that pulled it up, but there wasn't the strength to actually pull it up. It was too heavy. So what did he do? He put really thick cords, and they were very, very tight, and he wet them. And when they would dry, it was able to lift. It would lift just a centimeter, and then he would put something underneath. Then he would pull the cords and wet them, and then when the cords, when they would dry, another 2 centimeters. And so day after day, after a year, he was able to lift the pillar. And they asked him what he wanted. And he said, I don't want anything. I want to have a place I want to be the only one who can sell lottery tickets in the plaza. And it seems like that was how he made a living. But aside from that, today we live in a time where we want everything right away, immediate. We want everything for yesterday. We have this view where everything needs to be right away. There's even a saying, oh, I want it for yesterday. This way of saying where there's this strange idea that the quicker we get something, the faster it happens, the better it is. Why? I mean, really, depends. Well, first of all, it depends on what you want, because there's this feeling that, okay, if I do things more quickly, then I'll have more time. But that's not true, because once we've finished that thing quickly, we fill up our life with other things to do. We have more time for what? To live. But we're already living when we're doing that thing. So our objective is to do more things, or to live in a harmonious way and cultivate a part of ourselves that little by little in our lives we become a more stable, a more peaceful, a more joyous person. What is your objective? And we need to ask ourselves this. And what happens is there are different things, inner and outer, that you can't do in just you can't do immediately. You need that patience of wetting the the cord, and wait for that centimeter, to pull up, and little by little by little, like nature teaches us. For example, what does it teach us? Those who have planted a tree from a seed to then pick fruit, or even just planted salad. What have you learned from that? Those of you who have a garden, for example. So to have the objective of having fresh salad on your plate, you need to plant, you need to take care of the water, you need to protect from hail. It was very strange here. We had a tremendous amount of rain, and so I was talking to Pete, and he was actually producing seeds, and there was an invasion of snails and slugs. So every morning he would go and he would move all of the snails and slugs, because otherwise they would just eat everything. So every morning he would go and he would take the slugs and the snails and move them. So anyone who has really cultivated the land, soil, knows that you don't obtain things from one day to the next. Nature shows us this. This salad doesn't come from the supermarket, and much less from the much less from the delivery man. We don't even have supermarkets anymore. We have the screen and the delivery man. But the real problem is losing this awareness of gradual, this awareness of the importance of the actual process, the path, and not of the doing. So we should try to invert this idea that the faster I do something, the better it is. The better I do, the better I obtain. No. Remember that anything we do, there are 3 levels to anything we do. What I do, normally we give most importance to that. I need to clean the courtyard. I need to wash the dishes. I need to cook. I need to, whatever it is. So, and then there's how I do it on a practical level. What am I doing? Am I doing the best possible? Am I really cleaning these dishes or not? That second level is how I'm doing it. But it's important, but then there's how I'm doing it inside. I can be doing the same thing with joy or feeling upset, right? I can, as I'm doing that same action, I can feel like a victim, or I can appreciate the opportunity I have to help others, the example I've given a few times. Imagine getting home. Let's say that we live with someone or other people, and we get home and we see that there are dishes to wash, pots, whatever it is. And as we look, there's a part of our mind that says, "Oh, it would be nice to wash them." But it's also laziness manifest. When I don't wash the dishes because of feeling lazy, and I think, oh, or I know that other people will wash them, it's not a big problem. But once I materialize my laziness by giving space to it and leaving space for laziness, what am I cultivating? I'm just cultivating more laziness. If I see the dishes to wash and I say, oh, I'm feeling lazy, but I don't want to be lazy, and for this reason, I'm going to wash these dishes. I wash the dishes. And what's important, what I'm doing, it, it, what's important is not washing the dishes, but I am diminishing my negative conditioning of laziness, this habit of laziness. On the other side, if I see dishes and I say, oh, what a wonderful opportunity I have to show that I'm better than everyone else, because I want to show that I take better care. I have to show how good I am, so I'm feeling very arrogant. In that case, it's better to leave the dishes there, to not wash the dishes. What I mean to say is, when we do something, there's the what we're doing, but there's the how we're doing it, what our motivation is, what's the emotion that is involved, our inner attitude with which we actually do that thing. And then there's a third point, which is even more important, which is, and is a consequence of that, in front of what I'm doing, how am I transforming myself? There's the washing the dishes, there's the motivation of what I'm doing and why I do it, and then how I'm transforming myself by doing that. So I'm training in enthusiastic effort, in concentration, in constancy, in arrogance. It depends, in nervousness. It depends on the attitude with which we're doing that thing. And the more I do it, more naturally I familiarize myself with that. I can give many examples. In this moment, I have two. Um, I'm thinking about this film, this movie that I, 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 I know I named this film the other day, and I realized that I am not that young. I was the movie Karate Kid. There's the beginning of the training. Well, you all remember that, when he was making this movement, circular movements with his palms, wipe on, wipe off. But why? What was he doing? I mean, because he needed to clean something actually, or did he need to train in something else? He needed to train in constancy, in effort, in the physical effort. He needed to train himself also in following instructions without asking too many questions in this case. For example, a friend of ours who unfortunately has already left her body. Her name was Patrizia Beninca. I've named her quite a few times. When she was young, because of some blood transfusion, she got hepatitis and she had a lot of difficulties, health problems, and she didn't live very long. But during her lifetime, at a certain point, I don't know why I talked about hepatitis, but at a certain point in her youth, she had a heroin addiction. And at a certain point, she wanted to quit. It was very, very difficult. And she found a community in Canada where she could go to rehab. And in the end, she was able to completely overcome this addiction she had. But she told me that when she went to this community, what helped her to have the strength to face that difficult moment of abstinence and detox were two things. The first was that first moment when she arrived, and it was very strong because it's imagine that I'm here in front of all of you. There are about 200 people in that rehab community, a kind of gymnasium. Everyone was seated, and anyone who wanted to come to be accepted in the community had to sit in front of all of these people and explain why they wanted to be accepted. And it had to be a unanimous acceptance. And they would say when they weren't yet accepting the person, they would say, "I don't feel you." And she started saying, "I have this addiction here and there." It was very mental. And half would say, "No, don't feel you." And for her, it took about 7 hours, she said, for them to accept her. And she said the when she was absolutely desperate, where she asked to be accepted because she really wanted to be released from that addiction, from the depth of her being, just absolutely smashing her ego. At that point, they said, "Yes, you can enter this community." And along the path, she said, if that hadn't happened, that she wouldn't have been able to do what she did because it was very difficult. And so along this path, the person who managed this, when they would start to say, "Oh no, maybe we should do like this," or "I don't need that." When the ego started coming out, because we have many, inner games, being able to overcome such an addiction is very difficult. And she said that one of the things that they had her do was to clean the bathroom. And they say, "No, we will tell you when you can stop cleaning." And she say, "It's clean." No, keep cleaning. And sometimes she would say that she would spend an entire day cleaning the bathroom. It was already clean. After a while, it's clean. But the process, it wasn't about cleaning. It really wasn't about cleaning the bathroom. It was about bringing this attitude of total availability, and not the ego that says, "No, I know what's right for myself." That was difficult. We could say it's even violent. That she told me this story. She said if it hadn't been for that process, she would have never really been able to follow their process, their way, and get out of this addiction that she had. So, okay, wax on, wax off, clean the bathroom, but it's not about cleaning the bathroom or cleaning the car. The question is, how am I transforming myself? How am I transforming myself? What am I training in internally? And very often we have a very strong attachment to what we do and how other people see us and how productive we are or how important what we're doing is. Often we're very connected to the immediate benefit of what we're doing, but actually, what's really important is how we're transforming ourselves, how we're training in what we're training in. When we look at a sadhana like self-healing or breathing techniques, is one thing that's important to understand is one, it's a gradual process and not immediate. So if we start doing a practice, simply breathing the a sadhana, guya samaja, yamantaka, or self-healing, or developing bodhicitta, or realizing correct view of reality. This idea of wanting to, if we want to receive, if we want to have results right away, then it's just not going to work for us. There are things that are inevitably they need time. We need time to acquire and also to digest and nourish. Similar to a person, for example, who is in a strong, maybe someone who is starving. To bring that person to a healthy state of strength, you need to really understand how much and what kind of food can be taken and assimilated. Little by little, you gradually increase the amount of food that you would give to someone who is physically starving. In our spiritual process, our spiritual path is the same thing. We need to take food that we are able to digest, what we need to nourish our being. And so the attitude of saying, calm down, there's no hurry, slow down, there's no hurry to get there. In the mind training teachings, the Lojong teachings, for example, one of the vows is don't run the race. Don't try to be the first. Don't try to be the number one, because our objective is not to be the best practitioner. Our objective is to develop, to realize the practice, stability, love, wisdom. This is something of ours. I mean, it's a process between ourselves, for us. So we need to have a lot of patience and kindness with ourselves. So it's not something I do now and the results are immediate. Of course there are results, but the results and the effort that we put into the practice, it's said that the spiritual practice and the practices that we do are like, it's like an X, where at our departure, so in one extreme, so if we start from left to right, so from one side, from the lowest side here on the left, this has to do with the necessary amount of effort and energy that we need to put into it. And then as we go on, it increases. But the highest part, which is the highest point and then goes down, is the obvious benefit. Let me give you an analogy. Let's imagine, for example, that this table is very dirty. At a certain point, I take a broom and I just very quickly I take away the obvious dirt, and that was with very little effort I was able to clean a lot. But then I see better, there are stains, there's stickiness, and then I need to go there and put a lot of effort to take away that, that tiny little stain. And the deeper the stain, the more effort I need to put in to cleaning it. So at the beginning, with apparently a little bit, we're able to do a lot when we take away the more superficial level of our bad habits, for example. And the deeper we go, the greater the effort we need. We need more effort to overcome the deeper problems. So the so as we go along the process, the more, and we actually need more effort to make changes that are evident. So there's no hurry to get, to our objective, to arrive, but there's a hurry to get started walking, let's say. And at the same time, we should have this awareness where it, what I do is not important, but what's important is how I'm transforming myself. And this should be applied to everything we do. But the moment we sit down formally to meditate, or when we're talking to someone, and everything that we do, there's the how we're doing it inside. How am I transforming myself? I'm in the car in the middle of traffic, for example. I'm late for a very important appointment. Let's say that we took an appointment for maybe for work or for health or with for friends, something that we really care deeply about, and we prepared for that appointment for 4 months, 6 months, 1 year. It's a huge opportunity. We leave very early to get there on time, and and along the way there's an accident on the highway and we're blocked. And we miss this appointment. So what we're doing, we're blocked in traffic, missing this important appointment. But how we're doing it changes completely the final result in what I'm training in. I can be cultivating frustration, anger, for example, or I can use that experience in spite of how much I would have liked to have been on time for that appointment. I can use that time accept to accept things and meditate uh, on the fact that suffering doesn't come from how things are, but on the attachment to how I wish, how I'd like things to be. And if once I get home, having missed that appointment, um, having missed the appointment, but having maintained my peace and balance, or maybe I use that time to reflect on something good, or even mm, recited prayers for anyone who got hurt in that accident, then at the end of the day, it was a beautiful day. How beautiful that I was able to do all of that. Yes, I had an appointment and I would have liked to have been, to have kept that appointment, but now I'll have to wait. But something positive did come out from that. And the way I approached that experience can still transform me in a positive way. And this is important to apply this to everything we do. Similarly, when we sit to meditate, there's the what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and how is it transforming me. I remember once my father went to my main philosophy teacher, Geshe Tupten Rinchen, and he said, Geshe-la, I don't understand. When I began with Buddhism, I would do a mala of Om Mani Padme Hum, for example, and I felt an enormous benefit. Today, I can do 10 a day and I don't feel anything. Why? And he said, it's very easy. Simple. At the beginning, you probably not knowing the mantra well because it was new, you were probably doing Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum with your whole presence. And today, given that you're used to it, you just go around Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, looking here and there, Mani Padme Hum, what's for lunch today? Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani. Okay. He said, of course, the result is going to be different. So when we sit down for a practice like self-healing or a meditation on our breath, There's what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, with what clarity, with what awareness, etc. And then there's how is that transforming me? For example, it's not said that uh, doing a practice is not necessarily beneficial. Let me give you an example. I go to do self-healing. And there are a few people, and I think, oh, how wonderful. I can show how good I am at doing this practice. Because one of a great danger of the spiritual practice is that when one enters a spiritual practice, there's this danger at a certain point one uses the spiritual practice as a means to nourish one's own ego. Oh, but then I can say that I did, oh, I don't know how many million mantras, or I do this practice every day. I'm so good here and there. Oh, I concentrate well. I do this. This in the Lojong teachings, it says here we're transforming gods into demons, or eating poisoned food, because at the end of the day, I'm nourishing only my ego. And what I'm doing is something positive. It's a positive practice, but how I'm doing it, if my motivation is wrong and my attitude is nourishing my attachment and my ego, then it becomes something that at the end of the day is not beneficial, not good for me, because it's nourishing those aspects. Even when we sit down to do the practice, what am I doing? Oh, I do it's good to recite the mantras well, to do the mudras correctly. This is the recitation. This is what I'm doing, but the motivation of how I'm doing it, and then there's also the level of how it's transforming me. One of the best ways to see if a practice is good for me or not is to see if by doing that practice in if doing that practice, if doing that practice well with the right, with your motivation, you see if there's kind of benefit for you. So how can you see if it's beneficial? Someone said to me a short time ago, there's something's not going well. I've been following Rinpoche for many years. I've done many pilgrimages. I do self-healing. But I hear people who have these special feelings and visions and here and there. I have nothing. What am I doing wrong? And since when is having visions why we're here? Nothing against having a certain vision, having a certain experience, but that's not our objective. So the question I asked was, with the practice that you've been doing in these years, are you more stable? Yes. Do you have more patience? Yes. Are you able to see others better, and are you aware of others with more love and compassion? Yes. Do you have more concentration? Yes. Yes. So what more do you want? What That's what we're looking for. It's not we're waiting for the Buddha to appear in front of us and 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 to tell us what to do. I mean, there are different kinds of experiences that one could have, and there are those who are more creative than others, but the real realization is when we transform ourselves, when we develop our qualities and diminish our so-called mental defilements. That's how we can gauge. That's our thermometer to see if we're doing the right thing or not. So what I do, how I do it, and how is it transforming me? Now, when we do practice like the practice of self-healing, it's important, first of all, to be present in the present moment, generate the motivation to have to be sure about how we're doing it. And then we'll see over time that we'll see what kind of effects it has on us. So we need more time to see that. At least 6 months needs to pass with a certain frequency to see, even if effects can be more immediate. But why do we need such time? I mean, we need time to see ourselves, to compare how was I before and how am I now. We need to see ourselves over time, compare over time. The way to practice thinking more long term should be done in three ways. At the beginning, when we begin a practice like self-healing, it's important to do that practice in a middle way. So not too long, not too short, but in a medium way. If it's too long, it's tiresome, and then it just becomes too long. And that's not good, because when we do a practice and when our feeling is that it's too long, then we don't want to repeat that again. So it should be done in a medium way without getting into too many details. But then that once we're finished, we're still enjoying the practice. It's still pleasurable. Once we have more familiarity with the practice, at that point, we can do the practice in a more detailed, longer way. We can go into details for every passage. Little by little, we deepen the aspects, we enrich the visualizations, and we do the practice in a more extended way. When we create familiarity with the practice in an extended way version, then we can do the practice in a very short way, maintaining the richness and the depth of the extended, longer way. This is the correct way of training. And then there's next there's the result, where when then one is practicing, even when one is not practicing, when that sadhana, when that practice is totally integrated in the daily life, and there's no distinction between a meditation session and a session in between the meditation session. This is an objective that maybe it's a little far now, but just to give you a direction of where we want to go. So there's no hurry, but we need constancy. And sometimes I see that this expectation to have immediate results, that takes us away from this. And then sometimes we're just bored. Oh, I've already done that thing many times. Oh, today we're doing self-healing three times a day. I've already done it once. Why? It's boring. No, it's not boring. It's the fact, the more often, ideally that frequency creates more familiarity. And one day you feel this part, and the next day you feel that, and you're able to just deepen your understanding and your experience more and more. That's clear, isn't it? Of course, there's a difference. If we want to do a practice seriously, and by serious I mean as something important in our lives, or if we want to use the practice like self-healing as a kind of spiritual spa, as what do you take to relax? I've never taken a pill to relax. What do you tell? Give me a name. What does one take when they relax? Tavor. We have the tavor, the spiritual tavor. This pill. Okay, I do self-healing. I feel good. Okay, there's no problem. But what happens is, okay, I want to sleep. I'm gonna take my spiritual chamomile. I do self-healing. I feel okay. There's no problem. It's not negative. It's wonderful to do it, but it's much different to use it as a tool to relax or to feel better, compared to using it as a tool, a deep method for training and for transformation. When we want to enter into a deeper path, we want to, commit to a deeper, long-term transformation, then we need to use these tools appropriately. To conclude, I want to show you the self-healing practice in the very fast version way, because sometimes, unfortunately, I don't know how many have the availability, the possibility. I don't know. Maybe someone thinks I want to dedicate myself for a year, for 6 months to do self-healing 4 times a day, meditate about 12 hours a day. I don't know who has this possibility. Maybe there are those who would like to do it, but then, as Lama Ganchen said jokingly, he said, today, even if you go live in a cave in the mountains where you're growing your own food, at the end of the day you still need to pay the taxes. You still need to pay your homeowner's tax. So what happens? We live in a time where there are costs. We don't all have the availability to to we don't all live in a space where we're not using a great amount of our energy um, to to take care of ourselves, for survival, let's say. Um, so there is also this danger. There's a danger also of, maybe leaving everything. You go close yourself in a cave in the mountain, and you can spend months of familiarizing yourself only with your negativities. It's not that I don't, if I close myself away from the world, I'm not necessarily going to grow spiritually. There's that aspect too. Um, when we come back to our daily life, and there's work and our family, and so the time, the material time that we have available, um, it's having a shorter practice, but that actually covers everything. This is something very useful. And the practice of self-healing has this beautiful aspect that you can do the same practice in very, very long ways, with all the details from my experience, to do self-healing complete with all the visualizations done well. You need 3 or 4 hours. Normally, um, normally an hour is maybe a little bit more. The long version will be an hour, and you can do it, you can do it half an hour, 40 minutes, and for medium time, but you can do it also in 3 minutes. So if you are familiar with the longer way of doing the practice, then you're able to connect with the meaning and generate those states of consciousness even in the very, very short way. And you can do that when you're in the subway, or between one meeting or another, or in the morning before you start your day, or at lunch. You can do it with movements, without the movements, reciting, or silently. You can do it many different ways. Now we're going to do the practice of self-healing very quickly. It'll be very short. In there's the fast version, and then there's the extremely fast version. We'll do the fast version now, with movements and with the recitation. But So let's do first the fast version. More than brief, I mean, it's complete. It's not that it has less than the complete way. It's just done in a faster way. So just a minute. We sit with our back straight, our shoulders are relaxed, our eyes are slightly closed, and our awareness is on our breath. Inhale. And exhale. Let's bring our attention to the present moment, and let's do the practice of self-healing in a brief way.
Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Triratnaya, Lojo Sambo Pagyo Tashipa, Tuche Tembe Trinle Yarngod, Pegye Drolo Tsambe Zebrache, Pandela Me Shabla Sowade, Oma Guru Vajradara Sumati Muni Shasane Karm, Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum. Om Guru Buddha Siddhi Hum, Om Guru Buddha Siddhi Hum, Om Guru Buddha Siddhi Om Guru Buddha Siddhi Hum, Om Guru Buddha Siddhi Hum, E Yam Ram Lam Bam Ho Shuddhe Shuddhe Soha Om Sobhava Shuddha Sarvadar Sobhava Shuddho Ha Pamle Pema Chango Pamle Pema Serpo Pamle Pema Ngompo Pamle Pema Marpo Pamle Pema Karpo Om Ahon Tramar Hir Hile Natso Dorje Changur Hir Tramle Norbo Serpo Tram Honle Dorje Ngompo Hon Ale Pema Marpo A Omle Korlo Karpo Om Korlo Nanse Dorje A Pema Che Dorje Hon Dorje Mikyo Dorje Tram Norbo Rinchun Ri Natso Dorje Tenyo Dorje Lama Tenyo Dorje Ke Om Moga Siddhi Hon Lama Rinchun Dorje Ke Om A Ratna Sambhava Hon Lama Mikyo Dorje Ke Om A Akshobhya Lama Che Dorje Ke Om A Amitabha Hon Lama Nanze Dorje Ke Om A Veiro Chana Hon Om Mani Peme Hum, 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 Om Mahasukha 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 Hum, Om Vishwa Shanti Hum. Lama Kuncho Sumla Kyapso Chi Rangila Se Dotril Sungne Che Donga Choso Nircho Tadat Gecho Kunto Chi Shin Droten Chi Dornaditso Namkara Gewe Tso Chinye Sapa Te Nyurtod Norbo Panzo Shamba Larkene Lame Lamge Rimba Tarchin Sho Nimodele Tsendele Nime Kunyan Delek Ninsen Takto Delek Pe Kuncho Sumki Chingilo Kuncho Sumki Ngodrutso Kuncho Sumki Trashi Sho.
So this would be the quick version, and now we'll do together the very fast version. It's better to do it without the mudras. You can also do, but then it takes away our attention.
Shipa Tuje Tempe Trinle Yarmoda Pigedrolo Zambe Zebrache Pandela Me Shabla Sovade Oma Guru Vajradara Sumati Monisha Sane Karma Uta Vardani Shri Badra Varsamanya Sarva Siddhi Hon Oma Guru Buddha Siddhi Hon E Yam Ram Lam Bam Ho Shuddhe Shuddhe Soha Oma Sobhava Shuddha Sarva Dharma Sobhava Shuddho Pamle pema jango, pamle pema serpo, pamle pema ngombo, pamle pema marbo, pamle pema karpo omo ahon tram. Rile na tso dorje jango re, tramle norbo serpo tram, honle dorje ngombo hon, ale pema marbo a, omle korlo karpo om korlo nanse dorje a, pema che dorje hon, dorje minkyo. Tram norbo rinjon dorje re, na tso dorje tunyo dorje oma moga siddhi hon, oma ratna sambhava hon, oma kshobya hon, oma mitaba hon, oma veiro chana hon. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mahasukha Hum, Om Vishwa Shanti Hum, Lama Kunjo Sumla Kepso Chirani La Sedo Tri Sungne Chodonga Choso Nircho Tada Gecho Kundo Jishin Rotun Jim Nimodele Tsendele Nime Kuyandele Shinin Sentakto Dele Pe Kunjo Sumki Jingil Kunjo Sumki Ngodrozo Kunjo Sumki Tashi
What's important, the beauty, is that over time is being able to do the very fast version with quality. If you do very quickly, then it allows you also to concentrate even harder and better. So there's this experience of the we can see how time is a very short amount of time can go by very slowly if we're very well concentrated. Dedications now.
Drove Munsela Taktu Negyur Chi Kewakuntu Yanda Lama Dang Dralme Cheki Pela Longche Ching Sadan Lamgi Yunte Rabzone Dorje Changi Kopa Nyurtob Sho Nimodele Tsendele Nime Kuyan Delek Shing Ninsen Taktu Delek Pe Kuncho Sumki Chingi Lob Kuncho sumki ngodrubutsol, kuncho sumki trashishon.
At dawn or at dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to obtain all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.
May the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle all the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Omahum, Tembalame Sangya Rinpoche, Kyobalame Tamche Rinpoche, Trimbalame Gendurim, Kyamne Kuncho Sumla Chepa, Lojo Sampo Pagyo Treshipa, Tuche Tempe Chinleya. Buon appetito e ritorniamo alle...
So have a good lunch and we'll come back at 4 o'clock to do the practice a little bit more in a more extensive way.